This is Dr. Jerome Corsi, and today it's Thursday. It's January 25th, 2024. Thank you for joining us on thetruthcentral.com. We're doing podcasts every weekday. You can find me on X at Corsi Jerome 1, CORSI JEROME, 1, all together, all small letters, and on Substack. And we're building out Substack. We're going to start doing it rapidly. Getting a lot of articles on it, a lot of new content. And for my books, you're going to be able to see things from my books on it as well. And that is at JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. Now, we've got a lot of news to cover today. It's been a really active period of news cycles. The first story we want to cover is this Kari Lake story, which, if you've been following it, one of the GOP state leaders, a guy named DeWit, bribed Kari Lake to not run, to drop out of politics for a couple of years, and she could name her price. Well, Kari Lake taped the conversation and played it, and DeWit is now fired and disgraced. It's astonishing, the corruption in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, paying people not to run. This progressive agenda is just completely out of control. And the progressives are in the Republican Party, too. I mean, GOP is Democrat light. Trump is not really GOP. Trump is MAGA. He's Make America Great Again. And he doesn't fit naturally into the Republican Party. And the Republican Party probably just as soon he were gone, too. And they could get someone like Mitch McConnell, and they could have a cozy deal with the Democrats, and they could spend us into oblivion. So, Chris, you've got the clip here of Kari Lake. Why don't you play that? It's interesting. I think she's going to really skyrocket in politics. Listen to what she has to say.
Don't
tell anybody we had this conversation.
I'm offended that they don't care about our country more.
I actually wish you'd just give me a counteroffer this big. Give me a counter.
I can't be bought.
Who told Jeff DeWit to bribe me? I don't know. I wish I did know. As a matter of fact, I've thought about it many a day since then, and I've laid awake at night wondering who it could have been, what group, what person. But isn't it sad that you could literally, for 24 hours, think about it, wonder, guess, and that our government is so corrupt. Washington, D.C., the people back east, as he said, is so corrupt that you could literally probably come up with a list of about 400 or 500 people and groups that are behind this. And that's the sad thing. And this is why I am getting into politics. I'm in politics. This is why President Trump is in politics, because we want to make sure that we root out that kind of corruption.
I'm offended.
I think it's really a bold statement here. And Chris, what do you think? I want to get let's get a little discussion about this. What are your views on Kari Lake and how she's handled this whole crisis and positioned herself?
Well, first off, she has a new campaign slogan, one that actually works and is surprisingly honest. I can't be bought. Meantime, of course, Joe Biden's campaign slogan for president can be, I will buy your vote. There's a contrast there.
Please first buy me, then I'll buy your vote.
But it's nice to see, and again, this is somebody who was outside of politics. She was a family woman. She decided to step in because she wanted to expose corruption and weed out some of the career politicians who have been ingrained in the system and have taken advantage. They went after her horribly, and now she's getting back at them. Whether she may, depending on what happens in the next few months, she may have won herself the primary and won herself a Senate seat.
Well, I hope she does, and she deserves it. And the Biden family, wrote a book in 2000, I think it was, 2008 or 9, maybe 10, called America for Sale. That describes the Biden family. They're America for sale. I'm president of the United States. I can sell any part of America I want. China, any oligarchs apply here. And of course, they have to push Hillary Clinton out of the way to get to Biden, because she's there first. I mean, the corruption and the amount of money is being paid to our politicians by lobbyists, foreign nations. We are selling this country out. And I think the American people are tired of it. Okay,
Well,
now, go ahead, Chris.
I did want to add that, and this is why the regular people, the statesmen, the people from the private sector, are no longer allowed to sit at the table in Washington because they're the ones that will expose us. They're afraid that a Trump or again a Lake will maybe record a phone conversation and leak that out there, like what just happened. This is basically the political class, the real political class, not the fake political class like Nikki Haley was talking about. The real ones are saying, you're not allowed at our table because we have some things we need to do. The World Economic Forum wants us to be here, and we can't let you in on it and stop us.
Yeah, there's too much money being made.
Right.
And Mitch McConnell, his wife, Elaine Chao, there's a rich family in China. That family would be dead if Mitch McConnell didn't do what China wants. Mitch McConnell is a disgrace, needs to retire. Okay, let's go on some economic news. Hong Kong is reporting now that the shares in China is really taking a tank. China's going down economically in a bad way. So China has lost over the last 3 years about $6 trillion, equivalent to twice Great Britain's GDP, been wiped off the map of Chinese and Hong Kong stocks, Shanghai and Hong Kong. So this Hang Seng Index has crashed 10% this year alone, with the Shanghai Composite and Shenzhen Component Indexes down 7 and 10% respectively. These, it's being reported today in CNN Business, the astonishing losses reminiscent of the last Chinese stock market crash of 2015-16 brought a crisis of confidence among investors concerned about the country's future. What's happening in China? It's the second largest economy in the world, next to ours. It's got a huge downturn in real estate. They're suffering deflation. China has massive debt, a falling birth rate, and these ideological driven policies with the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, dictating business decisions have scared off international investors. I think even the United States is pulling back from having everything made in China. Of course, if Trump becomes president, there will be another effort here to get manufacturing revitalized in America. So the Chinese economy, well, it grew about 5.2% in 2023, which is pretty good, is nowhere near the double-digit expansion that China has been experiencing for a long time. So this confusion, this inability to stop it, and by the way, there's also labor unrest all through China, which is very little reported, but China's having massive trouble with workers. It's an economic disaster right now in China about to happen. When the Chinese market goes down, when China crashes, this is going to be a major international story, and it's going to affect the worldwide economy. I've been worrying about this and predicting this. It's going to happen. There's going to be a massive global crash. There's too much debt. We're now paying $1 trillion a year in interest earnings on a $34 trillion national debt, and Congress can only keep spending. This is a formula to drive us right into the poorhouse, and we're headed there fast. Do get a copy of this free book from Swiss America, The Coming Global Crash, Create an Historic Gold Rush. What I've been predicting is happening. It's going on fast. You can get this book by calling 1-800-519-6268. I'll repeat that a little more slowly so you can write it down. 1-800-519-6268. And it's how to get out, how the coming global crash will create a historic gold rush. We're going to come back to this in a minute, but I want to continue on through a series of stories today. The next story I want to cover has to do with the Texas border. Now, this is getting to be another major crisis that is not going to go away. Okay, so on the Texas border, you have the governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, is now saying he's going to defend the state because the Biden administration is refusing to defend Texas from an invasion. He's calling it a foreign invasion. So Abbott started putting up in Texas this razor wire, which is a real deterrent to immigration coming across the border in droves, except that the Customs and Border Protection agents step in to help the invaders, and they cut the razor wire. And the Supreme Court, and again, Justice Roberts is a disappointment. So is Justice Amy Cohen Barrett, said the federal government could cut the wires. Now, the problem is, and this is being pointed out by a number of pundits, it's on the Discern website. Discern website is actually quite good. And also General Flynn has weighed into this. Now, the Constitution in Article 4, Section 4, promises that the federal government shall protect each state against invasion. And Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 acknowledges the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. Okay, and that's Arizona, that also affirmed by Arizona v. U.S. Okay, so there's precedent here. And what it means in the Constitution is that the failure of the Biden administration to fulfill their duties required by this Article 4, Section 4, to protect the states from invasion, triggers Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to the state the right for self-defense. Now, that's a very strong argument. So under that authority, Texas is really the supreme law of the land, and it upsets and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. So the Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as state law, to secure the Texas border. Now, this is a constitutional crisis, and it's one that I think that's going to be a major election issue. Now, I favor immigration. I've written books on this. I've worked with the Minutemen, but I want the immigration to be legal. I don't want the drug cartels and everything else coming across the border, the Maras, the gangs. And that's what we're getting. And the Biden administration seems happy to do this. They think these immigrants are all going to vote Democratic. I don't think so. Biden is dumping these people in hotels. They want to work. They're not giving work permits. Biden is just doing a neo-Marxist, changing the politics of America by changing the demographics. But these people coming across, opposed to the secular Anglos in this country that the left has brainwashed, do believe in God. They believe in families. They don't believe in killing their babies in the womb. These people have faith values in terms of their policies. And I think truly the incoming waves of immigration are going to be more oriented towards Donald Trump than Biden. What's Biden done from them? In these hotels, the gangs take over. There's drugs. The hotels are filthy. And nobody's maintaining anything. Nobody has they don't want to be there. They don't know New York City and these other cities where they're being dumped. This is not the way immigration usually occurs. Immigration in this country has been a family process. One member of the family gets here, then it's chain migration. And over time, the whole family comes. The grandfathers, grandmothers, abuela, they all come over. And the other children, those niños, they all come over. And so therefore, this is a way that's organically coming into the country. Here you've got unaccompanied children who are probably coming in on pedophilia. And the dirty, dark secret here is that we are the drug cartels. And I pointed this out repeatedly. I caught HSBC money laundering in 2011. They paid a $1.9 billion fine. Nobody went to jail. The federal government monitors every wire transfer and had to know what was going on. The reason HSBC wasn't stopped until we exposed it was because it was business as usual with U.S. intelligence agencies, which have been in the drug business since before World War II. This is, I think, is a disgrace. And finally, if the states have to take over, the federal government is losing power and the American people are losing trust in Washington and the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is a neo-Marxist party. And once the American people understand it, they will reject it. I think this is actually the beginning of the end of the Democratic Party. As far as I'm concerned, it can't go fast enough. I'm going to have Craig comment. I want to just show you where we're going for the rest of the show. Then I want Craig to comment on this border issue so we get a discussion going on it. But the point is, the rest of the show, I'm going to show how this international trade is in a complete mess. Talk about the Red Sea. We're going to talk about the farmer revolt that's going all across Europe and not being reported in the United States. And we're going to end up talking about transgenderism and violence. So, Chris, what are your thoughts?
I do know that we're not going to like every decision the Supreme Court is going to make, but the fact is, constitutionally, we are, or the federal government is required to protect, as you said, each state from an invasion. The question is, and again, the question is, will the Supreme Court or even any court with any gumption have that said gumption, if you will, the gall to consider this an invasion legally? Because it was very easy for some courts to consider the picnic on January 6, 2021, the really mostly peaceful protest, as an insurrection by using that kind of definition to manipulate the Constitution. Why can't you just be honest and say this is an invasion and we're constitutionally obligated to protect each state from such?
Yeah, the left's perversion of language is disgusting.
Right.
It was not an insurrection. There was no declaration of civil war or attempt to overthrow the government. These were people who were mad at perceived election violations that were not being investigated.
Yeah, well, we should. Let's put it this way: if they want to do what they do with our language and they want to twist words around, we can play the same game. But the fact is, I don't think we need to twist this one. This is true. So, by their standards, this is a horrible. This is a horrible predatory invasion, if you will. But it is nonetheless an invasion.
Yeah, but the Democrats are hypocritical, so they don't have a standard because the politics are that they want the immigrants. This is a peaceful movement of people across borders. Okay, it's not an invasion
Until it goes to their state.
Well, that's right. Let's move all these people into New Hampshire and see how they like it in New Hampshire with, all the people who crossed over from Democrats and Independents and voted for Nikki Haley. Let's put these people all up in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Well, prime example, the sanctuary cities. They're getting upset now because, hey, they took on that responsibility. They figured virtue signaling is easy. But no, it's not. They're learning.
Well, see, what we're facing here is that the Texas, which is the National Guard now on the border, and state police are involved in this. So what's Biden going to do? Send in the military? Our military would come in there. What are they going to do? Hide their dresses? I mean, our military is now stretched so thin. We're talking about pulling out of Syria. We should be pulling out of Iraq. This military is equipped to do DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you've got generals walking around in dresses and wigs. It's a disgrace. It's a laughingstock. This is pathetic. And so therefore, the American people, I think, are disgusted by it. And we need a military, but we also need a government that's going to protect the United States. Joe Biden wants to go to work. First of all, Joe Biden, I don't know what Joe Biden, I don't know if he's capable of thinking right now. He's lying on a beach disgustingly. He ought to be put in a senior home and gotten care. It said he's president of the United States. I mean, this is ridiculous. You have president of the United
controllable. See, you get guys like him, they're easily controllable. You get people like Kari Lake, and not so much.
Right. And well, that's Obama probably going to want his fourth term running Michelle. Well, that's going to be a horror show. I mean, I can't wait till we play all the old clips about Michelle.
Well, was it Josh Gilbert was on your show? And this should be out there too. If Michelle Obama runs, this should be out there. Her first job in politics, as Mr. Gilbert said on your show, was to kick black families out of their homes.
Well, Joel Gilbert has a great book out on Michelle, and he's got a DVD, and it's going to be if Michelle does run, Joel will be in the forefront. And he's already done a lot of interviews on this, and he set the stage for people anticipating that Michelle will be the last minute walk on in the Democratic Party, not running in the primaries, and then just suddenly be by acclamation the candidate. That's probably what's going to happen. But Trump is preparing for it, and Trump, I think, will be ready to handle this. And I think the Hispanic voters coming across in the United States, these people are going to vote. The Democrats are going to get them all the right to vote. And so there's lots of issues here that are going to be debated. And the 2024 election's already shaping up to be something that has to be closely watched. Going to have to be out there with lawsuits demanding that the laws be respected, challenges, and also massive amounts of poll watchers, massive amounts of documentation, so that this can all be documented if the Democrats try to pull the kinds of stunts that were apparent in 2020 and not investigated. You can't say that the election was certified. So, they went through the sham process. But the point is, it was a sham because legitimate questions were raised and not investigated. That's the key point. And if the judiciary is all Soros bought, the prosecutors are Soros bought, the criminals are released onto the streets, American people are going to get sick and tired of it. Okay, let's do a couple more stories here, Chris. Let's talk about the the Red Sea blockage. As we pointed out, and I think we're among the first to kind of report this, that these Houthi rebels down by Yemen, which is below Saudi Arabia, the Red Sea is from the Suez Canal out into the Indian Ocean. And these Houthi rebels from Yemen, backed by Iran, are now attacking shipping. And the ships that they're attacking, certainly, of course, the Russian ships and Middle Eastern ships and the Chinese ships are let go easily. But other ships are vulnerable, especially if their destination is Israel or they're Israeli ships. The problem is that the Suez Canal and this route was created as being the shortest route from Europe through the Mediterranean into India and China. Having to go around the southern tip of Africa adds a lot of time and money to shipping. Now, the shipping rates have just exploded. So on the Baltic Exchange, they're now $100,000 a day buying these cargo ships because of the Red Sea disruptions. So it's massive. I mean, these increases in shipping costs and the delays in time are going to cause inflation throughout the world because, again, there's going to be shortages in supply chain. Can't get the materials you need given this supply chain. We get one part here and one part there and another part here. We bring them all together. We assemble them. Well, that was the New World Order globalism that was predominant through the last decade and continues into the 2020s. But the point is, it doesn't work when there's international disruption. And so Goldman Sachs is beginning to warn that these 25% increases in the cost of oil tankers and the cost of cargo ships are going to impact inflation again. And there's no way it won't. And these Houthis all they have is these little boats, and they come out and they surround these cargo ships or the oil tankers, and they take them over. And this, again, is a massive, massive disruption. We have military in the area, but again, it's kind of asymmetric warfare. I mean, we've got very sophisticated naval ships with all kinds of automated weaponry, and these guys have little tiny speedboats, but they're harder to get, and they're like a bunch of gnats. They're a bunch of flies all buzzing around you all the time, and all you're doing is getting bitten by the flies on every square inch of your body. So the shipping is disrupted. And the other story that's going on is and not being reported, is this farm breakdown. The farmers all through Europe are having the convoys of trucks, which are protesting the shutdown by the European Union of farming on this nonsense climate issue where cows fart methane and we exhale carbon dioxide. So we have to end farming. And by the way, why don't you just kill yourself and solve us all a lot of problem, because you're the cause by breathing of global warming. It's insanity. Carbon dioxide is not a noxious chemical. Carbon monoxide is. Unfortunately, hydrocarbon fuels do not emit carbon monoxide. If they did, they wouldn't be used. But when they emit carbon dioxide, that's plant food. Now, what these farmers are saying in Europe with these convoys of trucks, and they shut down major cities like Berlin, they're saying no fuel, no food, no future. I hope Bill Gates hears that. Of course, Bill Gates doesn't care. We can eat bugs. He'll be still having his porterhouse steaks. No fuel, no food, no future. Okay, so the mainstream media in the United States will not broadcast this. They don't want the American people knowing this is going on. And by the way, it's like the peasant wars of the 15th and 16th centuries, which were fought for the same reason, and that was that the kings and the lords were taking excess taxes. The peasants were working double time and making less income, producing the food that was being consumed in the castle. And eventually they just said, no, we're not doing it anymore. And again, things like the Magna Carta, which came in Great Britain, were the first recognition of rights. Of course, Harari, this agenda advisor to the World Economic Forum, says that you don't have any rights. Because you open up a person, you don't see the rights. You cut them open, you see the hearts and lungs, there's no rights. Of course, Harari, as a postmodernist, wants to believe that everything is a word construct. And if you can't see it, well, God is just a sky fairy to him. Well, I don't think God is a sky fairy to God. And this place was created by God. It has rules, and Harari redefining the rules is not appreciated by God, I'm sure. So I think his ability to be effective is going to be limited only by the fact that he's getting heard more, and more people are turning against him. By the way, there's also a truck convoy assembling in Texas to go down to the border. And so the farmers, the truckers are beginning to do what they did in Canada with these truck convoys. Of course, Trudeau cut their bank accounts off and made it clear how brutal central bank digital currency will be, because these governments will turn off the currency for these people. They don't care. These people are to them useless. They're not obeying the agenda. And I think as more and more people see this, the world's going to wake up. And Chris, comment on this, please.
The world, it's starting to wake up because, again, you see the right turn in some countries like Italy. Of course, you've seen that. You've seen Eastern Europe turning to the right, or they've been more to the right, or let's say anti-globalist for a long time. Argentina is finally speaking out, and that's a country that was in love with the left for such a long time, and they still they had their own Hillary Clinton over there, if you remember, Evita Peron. So.
Yeah, well, and now they've got Melee,
Yes,
he is coming in and saying we're going to cut this nonsense. We're going to cut this Peronism, which is communism,
right,
in a different disguise. And,
people get tired of it.
Well, the best way to defeat Joe Biden is give him a microphone, get his advisors and controllers out of the room, and ask him questions. Let the American people see an hour of that.
Here's a question that should have been asked with every single presidential debate since, I'd say 2000, right? 2000, 2004. The question should be, do you support Agenda 2021, or now it would be Agenda 2030? Do you support that? And that's and the way the reason why the media will not ask that question is because the people know if a candidate says yes, they're going to be less electable.
Well, there's a good article. So fundamentally, the climate change agenda is being seen as completely a lie. I think the pandemic is being questioned. People are waking up to the corruption at the top. And you see the universities out with their woke. Claudine Gay, with her falsified or plagiarized dissertation, and everybody supporting Hamas.
But there you go. What passes off for intellectuals today has got to be. I will on the lowest level, it's a sign of the times. On the largest level, it's incredible manipulation. These people don't even have an inkling. They don't even entertain abstract thought. These people. So these intellectuals are the pseudo-intellectuals of yesterday. They're heralded as the intellectuals of today, or Claudine Gay's of the world. Now that you mention her, she has to, obviously, to get where she was, she had to plagiarize. Harari, you talked about yesterday in length, and this guy has zero desire to think in an abstract manner, and can't understand the concepts of anything he can't see and touch. Well, these are intellectuals.
That's a good point. I mean, these people want to live in their own little constructed reality, and they want us to celebrate their constructed reality. This next story, there's growing concerns about transgenderism and violence. By the way, again, the best way to get rid of this LGBT nonsense, and how many letters now they want to add P, pedosexual. They don't want to be called pedophiles any longer. It's pedosexuals. It's just another sexual
It's not maps anymore.
orientation. No, it's just fine. It's okay. They just love these little children. This is ridiculous. So the best way to defeat this is let the people see a transgender parade. Put it on nightly news. Well, it won't go on nightly news, but it will go on other places. Watch what they do. Watch the sacrilegious sex acts that they parade around and imitate and encourage little children to be watching. Watch how they display their bodies and their genitals and everything else. These people, let's show the whips and the chains. Let's show the sadomasochism. Let's show the dark side of this. And if people see it, they're going to understand that this is nonsense. It's basically a child that's going to say that emperor has no clothes. These people are walking around naked and they want to be celebrated. So the mental health issues and this gender confusion are beginning to be seen because you've got very potent cross-sex hormones, and these people who are doing gender transitions are mutilating their bodies. At the same time, they feel like they've been bullied, like they are not understood, they aren't being accepted. And so therefore, what's happening is an increasing number of these mass violence cases are transgenders. And again, this is suppressed by the mainstream media. So of the 37 public mass shootings from 2018 to 2023, 2 were carried out by gender-confused individuals. And this is according to John Loft, who's the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. 3 additional shootings were carried out by gender-confused individuals that resulted in fewer than 4 victims. Yet the reality is that the number of transgenders, which is probably about 1 million, is some small percentage of the U.S. population, but growing as this culture is being introduced into the schools down to the kindergarten level. So when you're dealing with these people suffering from all this gender dystopia, and they begin pushed through the drugs they're getting and the psychological confusion to commit violence, you've got a dangerous formula. So various people are saying, that hormones change the brain chemistry, and these brain-altering hormone treatments used in the attempt to alter gender may be what's contributing to what they're calling trantifa, which is a combination of trans and antifa. So you got trantifa instead of antifa. We now have trantifa. Well, that's a good reversal of language on them. But again, the idea that this man dressed as a woman and they're not going to become internally all messed up, especially with the drugs they're taking, is fantasy. And if we're creating a world where the children are being encouraged to be transgenders, we're creating generations that will not reproduce themselves. And it's going to start looking like ancient Rome. I think the mothers of the world are going to say, no, they didn't spend up to 9 months pregnant and go through childbirth, which is not a pleasant experience, and raise these children to have them turn out to be men who are wearing dresses and growing their hair long and wearing earrings and claiming that they're women and changing their pronouns. If we're going to live in a world where you got to worry about pronouns and they're all confused, in fact, why don't we just eliminate pronouns altogether? Why don't we, there's any number of genders you want to be. Just make one up, because it's infinite. You could say I was reincarnated as this or reincarnated as that. I was a cat. I was an animal. Put cat litter into the bathrooms because I'm really a cat, and I'm not male or female. I'm not binary. I'm confused binary, or maybe I'm trinary. So maybe my sex is trisexual, whatever that means. So again, language confusion is the heart of this, and this insanity has got to stop. We have to, if you take a look at the world right now, and this is where I say it's this satanic agenda is this neo-Marxism, and which is now cultural Maoism, because it's trying to do a cultural revolution. If you don't agree with these people, they cancel you. I think it's time just to ridicule them. I think it's time to use humor and to expose who they really are and what they truly believe, and let mainstream media hear that. Let the mainstream people hear that. This is why I think Donald Trump is surging, because this insanity is going to be rejected across the board. If it doesn't, Satan takes over and the United States does not have long to live. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think we will rise up here and we will be able to beat this nonsense. Chris, any final comments? I want to point out on the website, I am selling my stock of books. I'm selling signed copies, and I suggest if you want them, get them now. Chris, why don't you show where it is on the website and how that people can buy these books?
If you're watching, you can see on the very top, Dr. Corsi, the Truth Central headline, and of course under that the menu. If you're not watching, hit thetruthcentral.com. You can also hit that link in the description of each of our podcasts. It's easy to find. Plug in thetruthcentral.com in your URL, and you can Google us as well, or duck us, whatever you want to do, or Bing us. I don't even. There's so many search engines out there. You can AOL us for that matter. There we go. You can even see my MySpace. Anyway, I digress. On the top, you'll see a menu, and there's a book menu. That's basically with to buy his Dr. Corsi's most recent books. But there are some autographed books for sale here, and you can pick them up. Some of the classics like Coup d'Etat. You have was it Black Gold Stranglehold and Atomic Iran. You can get Dr. Corsi. You have those autographed, or you can autograph them for people. People can pick them up.
These were books I've had that were very successful. The Atomic Iran was published in 2005, and it's still relevant today. Things I was predicting back then are happening now. By the way, if you take a look at this technology, these are called these. You see how they look like cell phones there? Go back to the it's right there
on the main page.
Yeah, that's an e-pipe, E-P-Y-P-E. And we're going to be offering these. This is a new social media tool that allows you to create your own social media. We're going to be offering these on the website to enroll you and put you into e-pipes. I think they're going to become a very powerful technology in the future. But probably in the next few days, we'll get that available so you can get your own e-pipe. What it does is let you put videos, messages, you can get donations, you can sell things. And to your followers, they can get a copy free of your e-pipe. They're not very expensive per month, and they're very, very effective technology. You can change the message simply, and you can have an archive of messages. I'm going to show people how these work, and we're going to do much more to promote these. Okay, and also, if you like the show, also My Vital C. There's a lot here in the sponsors. Spend some time on the website looking through the sponsors, especially if you like the show. I've been taking My Vital C now for going on to 5 years. It's a carbon 60. It has remarkable longevity properties. You can consume it either in olive oil, coconut oil, or avocado oil. Also comes for cats and dogs. It's got hair products, skin products. My hair colors return to my hair. I'm not coloring it, but it used to be all gray. It's not anymore. And I attribute that to My Vital C. Okay, let's wrap up. In the end, God's going to win here. These agendas are so dark, and there's attacking them where they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable because of the corruption. They're vulnerable because of the insanity that they produce. The fruit of these trees is not productive. It's destructive. And the violence they will do to children, I think, is their real weakness and where they're most vulnerable. You cannot abuse children the way these people want to abuse children and get away with it. God's law means something to God, and the judgment of God will come, and it could be severe. We're in end days. I don't think end days mean the end of everything. I think it means a final battle with Satan, and I think God intends to win. The spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14, though, we must do our part, and it starts with getting down on our knees and asking God to forgive us for letting so many millions of babies be chopped to pieces in the womb. These are God's souls. Only God can give life, and we are destroying life. Satan is harvesting souls as fast as he can right now. We should have put God back into the schools in the 1940s and been fighting this. We have to restore God to his rightful place at the head of the kingdom. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi, thetruthcentral.com. Follow me on X, Corsi Jerome 1. Substack, JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. We're broadcasting on thetruthcentral.com every weekday. Please like the show. Please pass the word. Please do everything you can to share our content. We will be back tomorrow, Friday. Thank you for joining us. God bless.